Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, so if I stumble over my words moving forwards, apologies about that, and also apologies if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well, if there's any lag. Anything like that at all, sadly, it can't be helped, and hopefully it's not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision 2024 related video here on my channel, and as I talk to you now, it is the evening of the 28th of April 2024, and all of the participants in the first semi-final of this year's upcoming edition of the Eurovision Song Contest staged in Malmö, Sweden, have had their first rehearsals, and I am going to go through each country one by one and talk very briefly about what I've seen and what I've heard. As always, you're very welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discussed today by leaving a comment down below, and as always there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. So of course, what with these being first rehearsals, there is so little to judge, so I am not going to be very harsh at all here. I don't think any Eurovision fan should be analysing the TikTok snippets very much at all, because they're very short. I think there's only about 10 to 15 seconds of footage, if that. So we're really not getting much at all in terms of how each performance is necessarily going to look. I've seen all of the TikTok snippets, and I've seen a whole bunch of photographs taken from inside the arena as well over the past 2 days. And I am currently working on an Instagram post which is the top 5 semi-final 1 first rehearsals. So if you're at all interested, you can take a look at that post when I get it uploaded later on today, all being well. Now, let me go through the countries one by one. Now, to avoid clicking backwards and forwards, I am going to try and keep this fairly simple. I'm looking on the Eurovision Instagram page predominantly here. Let's begin with Cyprus, Cilia Capsis and Lyre. And really, this was as expected. My concern here is that it doesn't look like the most inviting performance. Considering this is on first and it's a bit of a pop bop, I was expecting something a hell of a lot more vibrant. Looking at these photographs alone, it does come across as maybe a little cold, which is surprising. Cilia's there in a white crop top and white pants. She's got a couple of male dancers with her who seem to strip off and are topless as the song progresses. There's no real need to talk about the songs, and if you're ranking the rehearsals, really you are ranking everything but the song in many ways. It's entirely possible that a country whose song you love might end up just not delivering at all first time around, so you wouldn't necessarily rank them highly, would you? Anyway, I do think Cyprus are in a spot of bother, because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about the clip that I watched yesterday. It's really lacking something, and I know there's a dance break, which is great because there sort of is one in the song anyway, and I think Cilia is doing a good enough job here, but I just want it to be more colourful and more vibrant. It's all a bit predictable, which is okay, but I think this does need something else to make it truly stand out, especially being on first and in the eyes and ears of many a Eurovision fan, a borderline qualifier. Moving on to Serbia, again, sort of as expected here. They've taken what they had at the Serbian national final and they've elevated it just a touch. And I talk about this all the time. If it ain't broke, it don't need fixing. If it is Eurovision ready at the national final, which let's be honest, it should be, you can take what you've already got and plop it right there on the Eurovision stage, and that's a huge weight lifted off your shoulders as the artist, because all you've got to worry about is how your voice sounds and how you move about on stage and interact with the camera. This is Teodora with Ramonda. It looks very atmospheric. She's in a rather drab outfit, but that doesn't matter much. There's smoke galore, which hopefully doesn't swallow her up. This is quite... excuse me. Oh, dear me. This is quite an intimate-looking performance, so I'm hoping that we don't necessarily have too many wide shots here. She's surrounded by a bunch of rocks. Fair enough. It does look very beautiful, and her voice is also sounding very good, so I don't have any concerns. The neutral viewer, and I know that I go on about neutral viewers very often, but this is coming after Cyprus, which a lot of people may really enjoy, and it's coming on straight before Lithuania, which is really likely, in my opinion, to do a lot better. this may just get lost in the mix. The running order doesn't matter too much, but yes, this Serbian song is on early. So if Serbia do progress, it might not be by a hugely comfortable margin, but this really should be going through absolutely. It looks and sounds perfectly fine to me, albeit maybe a little bit too cold, like with Cyprus. I don't know. Moving on to Lithuania, and would you believe it, this was exactly as expected. Sylvester Belt with Luktel. He's wearing a red jacket and red trousers, which I think he was wearing in the Lithuanian national final. He's got dancers who are in white trousers and black jackets, and their faces are now entirely covered. The backdrop is his face, but in this sort of jagged pattern. Lots of red lighting. The choreography is fairly simple. It's very casually executed. Now, something I will say here, and this applies to a lot of the other rehearsal clips I've seen as well over the past 2 days, that stage is big and shaped like a cross. If you're just going to stay in the middle, that's a lot of space to your left and a lot of space to the right that you're just not using. And it's such a big stage. Really make the most of it, especially if you've got a big up-tempo song like this one. So I'm hoping there's real movement, and that goes for the camera angles as well. You know, quick, choppy cuts. That's what I'm hoping for. The song's going through. Not a huge fan of the masks that the backing dancers are wearing, but it's not a bad song, and he's going through. Now, Ireland. A lot of people very excited for this one. Very spooky, very gothic, although the backdrop is quite bright at times. What is it? I say this every damn year. What is it with blue and pink and purple? So many countries have this colour scheme, and it seems as though Ireland have it a bit as well. Bambi Thug is there, makeup all over the face, horns on each shoulder, looking pretty good. There is a chap on stage who looks as though he's fallen down a chimney. He's covered in that much soot and dirt by the looks of it. And we also have images here of Bambi in a circle. There's something Ouija board about it, if you see what I mean. But they're in this circle, surrounded by candles, which I think have symbols on them. Something like that, I'm not entirely sure. And then in this image, there's a bit of smoke, but not too much, and this puff of blue smoke, by the looks of it, on the backdrop. Vocally okay. I'm quite intrigued. I'm not bowled over, far from it, but I think why I liked this is because there's so much promise. At the Irish national final, nobody had the chance to really let loose. Fair enough, it was in a studio. Now, Bambi Thug has this enormous opportunity to open up and use that big stage and really express themselves. And this could be really, really impressive. The whole thing could come together very nicely indeed. So, I am intrigued to see more. Let's put it that way. And really, there's not much to complain about at all. The neutral viewer may still be appalled by this, especially some of the more heavy notes and almost growling that we get at times in this song. But I think more and more people are getting on board with this, and Ireland are looking more and more like a qualifier. This rehearsal definitely helped improve matters for a lot of people, I think, in terms of whether this is going through or not. I'm starting to ramble, but let's move on to Ukraine. Bear with me. This is looking and sounding pretty damn excellent. It's Teresa and Maria by Aliona and Jerry Hale. So I don't really know how to describe these outfits. Aliona is in a sort of baggy coat. Jerry is in a brown gold coloured dress. There is a rock on stage, a bit different from Serbia's. Here, now this is unlike Cyprus. I know the two songs are very different, but Cyprus, as I said a moment ago, felt quite cold and uninviting, whereas this Ukrainian performance looks very welcoming and inviting indeed, and I think that's because of the orange and gold tones that we have to this performance. The rehearsal clip was very promising. I think at one point it sort of goes black and white, and maybe there'll be quite a few flashing lights, and I think that's during the rap section, but don't quote me on that. This was one of the stronger rehearsals, I think, but then again, Ukraine always deliver. The national final performance was fine, but on a fairly compact stage. Now, this duo, they are getting the opportunity to really show what they can do, using the space provided to them. Hopefully there's quite a bit of movement. Lovely stuff. Cruising through. But then we talk about Poland. So if Bambi Thug has thorns of some kind on their shoulders, Luna with the tower has opted for rockets. That's what they look like. This to me was a little bit all over the place. There's an image here of a moon on the backdrop, and Luna is wearing this rather flamboyant, I guess, all in red outfit, this tomato shade outfit. And she's really gone big with the chess theme, which is fair enough. And I have to give credit where credit's due, because we didn't have any idea really at all as to how this was going to be staged. And they're really going big for it, which is fair enough, because without this type of staging, I do think maybe the song would fall flat on its face. Then she's wearing this sort of rocket-shouldered outfit and white shorts. It's a very odd look for this type of song, but fair enough. And she's atop. It's either a chess piece. Yes, it looks like a chess piece. One is white, one is black. There's a bloke, I'm assuming a bloke, it could be a woman, I've no idea, you'll have to forgive me, in red to her left, on top of the black chess piece. There's pyro. There's quite a lot going on, and I think she's moving about the stage quite a bit as well. I don't know, I don't really like what's happening on the LED screen, but this is a really minor thing. And I thought vocally, I don't really want to talk about the vocals too much, but I thought vocally it was still on shaky ground. However, this is still probably going through, especially if the diaspora vote is out in force. Promising signs, but I'm not loving it. I've got to be honest. Ireland intrigued me more. This really strikes me as though it could be a bit of a hot mess, but I'd like to be proved wrong. Then we move on to Croatia. Oh, baby lasagna with rim tim taggy dim. So, from what I've seen online, which isn't a huge amount because I'm really staying away from social media at the moment, some people loved this and others were disappointed. Now, he is my favourite of the year. I really enjoyed this, and I personally do think it was the strongest first rehearsal from the first semi-final participants over the past few days. Again, taking what they had at the national final, picking it up and putting it down on the Eurovision stage and elevating it just a touch. So his outfit is different. It's more Croatian, it's more traditional, that's lovely. Vocally, okay, like I've said previously, great vocals aren't super necessary with this type of song, and people won't really care at all about that. We do have this sort of TV static interference thing on the backdrop, which we've seen at the national final and at pre-party performances. There is movement, there's flames, there's smoke, there's a whole lot going on, and it does look, especially in this image here that I'm looking at on Instagram, the whole stage is being used. Lovely, fantastic. There's energy. We have neon cats on the backdrop towards the end. And really, we actually saw quite a bit in that TikTok clip. Some countries, we barely saw anything, in all honesty. But I feel as though we actually got quite a good taster of Croatia's performance and how it's all going to come together on the night. Really good job. I can't complain about it. And a lot of people are very, very excited. Bear with me as we move into the second half of semi-final 1. Iceland, Hera Björk with whatever the name of her song is. It's been a long day. Now, Hera Björk has been there and done that before at Eurovision. She's not a bad singer. I'm looking at these images here. I actually thought this was really good. Really good. Again, elevated from the national final performance. She's got dancers, backing singers. There's lasers. which we've had quite a few times at Eurovision in the past, and very few countries use them. But there we are. And then we've got this light up pyramid, and I can't work out whether that's some sort of contraption or whether... Yes, I think it is, because in this image here, Hera is performing on top of a bunch of steps. But then on the backdrop, it looks like, are all of these triangles which make up some sort of pyramid. It's all quite simple. Lights shining on her. I thought it was a job well done, in all honesty. And I have to say, more and more people, I think, are starting to like this at just the right time. I talk about momentum all the time on my channel, how key it can be. Maybe this could make the final, but let's not get carried away. We move on to Slovenia. Well, it's been a day of somewhat revealing outfits. And Raven performing Veronica for Slovenia, I mean, I think she looks great, but there's no denying it. It's quite a revealing outfit that she's got on here. Skin tight. And I thought this was very good, actually. I had a feeling I'd really enjoy this. Again, the TikTok clip maybe wasn't giving much away, but we know she can really sing. And this is quite an artistic type song. Clouds on the backdrop. I think we had flashes of lightning at one point. We move from the light to the dark and back again. She's on the stage floor. And I said, maybe trying to recreate the music video on stage for Slovenia this year, maybe that would be a wise move. And it seems as though they are trying to do that a little bit. On the whole, I thought it was, like with Iceland, a job well done. One of the stronger rehearsals, in my opinion. Whether this really improves matters for them in terms of getting more people on side, the betting odds, all of that mumbo-jumbo, whether that really changes things, I don't know, but I thought this was pretty good. And then we move on to something completely different. Finland, Windows 95 man, no rules. I mean, I don't really know what to say here. I just cannot get over the fact that this is so cringeworthy. We are talking about a guy who I think is not far off 40, but don't quote me on that, and he's parading around in a skin-coloured thong. And I just don't really understand why. It doesn't bother me. I just don't really understand why he's making a bit of a fool of himself. That's what it comes across like to me. In terms of the outfit in general, besides that, I mean, parading around with his butt cheeks on display is not a thing that I would do in front of many millions of viewers. In terms of the Windows logo, all they've done is blur it a bit. I suppose that's one way to get around it. Emerging from this giant egg, vocally slipshod, and I've just seen a picture here of two male backing dancers who look about 15. There's pyro, of course, plenty of that. Really, it's quite similar to the UMK performance, but elevated just a touch. Mixed opinions on it, and I think that's because, to me, this is very likely to go through. To the neutral viewer, they will just find this hilarious and probably vote for it in big numbers. But you've got other people, Eurovision fans, who will be absolutely furious if this progresses ahead of something that maybe is stronger musically, such as Portugal, Slovenia, maybe even Australia. I'll get onto them in a minute. There really is a mixed opinion on this one. Eurovision needs craziness. I mean, I'm not against songs like this at Eurovision at all, but this just feels really quite embarrassing and cringeworthy. And I can't imagine I'm going to watch this on the Tuesday evening in a few weeks' time and think, yes, that was just sensational. I'm more likely to sit here and think, wow, that was really all over the place. You know? And I'm not against fun, far from it. Let's move on to Moldova, something a little bit more serious, shall we say. I don't think this is qualifying. I've never thought that. Natalia is alone on stage. This is in the middle, of course. And Interesting that she doesn't have the other female violinists with her that we had at the Moldovan national selection. Wings appear on the backdrop. Apparently at one point it makes Natalia look like an angel. Very experienced performer, great singer. She's in this white dress. She does have a violin. And then we have a tree on the backdrop and lots of bits and pieces floating about as well in the breeze. However, again, we have a situation here where the song, how do I phrase this? It's almost as if she's swallowed up by the song and the stage. I mean, that's a big stage and she's all alone on it, I think, for the entirety of the tune. So, I don't know if this is really going to pop out in the way that it perhaps should. And again, blue, pink and purple. Unbelievable. Don't really have much else to say about Moldova. It was fine. As was Azerbaijan. Fari and Ilkin Dovletov with Azunlia Par. Two decent singers here, wearing quite futuristic looking black and grey outfits. Didn't really know what to expect. We have big hands coming up on the backdrop, and I think it's a woman's face sparkling, almost as if they've been covered in water, something like that. This was fine, but I don't think it stands out enough. It's as simple as that. And it's quite dark. And, you know, coming after the likes of Finland, which will only be about 6 or 7 minutes before this one, I don't know. And then Australia are on next. So this, you know, I don't know where the love is going to come from. But I'm not going to sit here and say it was a bad job. It was perfectly fine. Not one of the best today, though, in my opinion. We move on to Australia. Well, this wasn't too bad at all. Again, I'm not sure any of us really knew what to expect. The lead singer is in a quite fancy white dress, popping out a leg. Milkali, that appears on the backdrop. There's very earthy tones to this, but this almost floral, warm glow to proceedings as well. It's quite a nice juxtaposition. I'm not sure I'm describing myself terribly well here, but I like the look of it. Vocally, pretty sound, no doubt about that. The other chap is off to one side behind the keyboard, which of course he's not actually playing live. That did look a little bit awkward, but then there's the didgeridoo, and they're both at the front of the stage. Yes, indeed. You know what I'm going to say. This was pretty solid stuff. A job well done. And I do really think anybody who's on the fence about Australia, when that live performance does happen on the Tuesday evening in a few weeks' time, I think more people will be on board with it fairly quickly. But who knows? Not many to go now. Portugal. Well, this was a slice of fried gold. I liked this very much. And again, take what you've already got, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stick it on that Eurovision stage. Here's Iolanda, looking fabulous in this all-white outfit, joined by a bunch of dancers, a bit like Lithuania. Their faces are covered up pretty much. I'm not sure how they're able to breathe too well. I assume it's mesh, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Very similar in the rehearsal clip to what we had at Festival de Canchal. All in white. It's a very intimate looking performance, which is great. And interestingly, in the TikTok snippet that was presented to us, we did hear the big note at the end, and she sounded good. She sounded very good indeed. This was one of my favourites out of all of the first rehearsals, as a matter of fact. I am really looking forward to seeing and hearing the whole thing very soon. Because it's so simple, it's so stripped back, it's a real moment of calmness, and it's a zen-like feeling listening to this song, and I'm sure I'll be feeling that when I see the performance too. That leaves Luxembourg. Now, maybe this is a bit cruel to say, but when I saw a picture of Tally earlier on, you know that bit in Matilda where the Trunchbull has Amanda Thripp by the pigtails? That's what it made me think of. Very cruel, I know. And I should take this opportunity to say that actually, I really like her hair here, and I think she looks very good in general. Whether this is actually going to be her Eurovision outfit or not, I don't know. She's all in black. Couple of dancers in sort of pink and orange outfits. There's this box on stage which lights up. Not really sure that adds anything at all. And I don't really know what else to say about this. There's pyro and smoke, and I think on the backdrop at one stage, if I remember correctly, there's a tiger or a leopard that appears and then vanishes in a puff of smoke, something like that. And the cubes, which a lot of people don't seem to be using so far, they are lowered down for this performance as well, by the looks of it. Vocally, maybe not bang on the money. I'm still not terribly convinced at all by what I've seen today, or what I've heard. But she's on last in the running order, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this for what it is, even if there's something about the track that just isn't hitting top gear. Anyway, what a massive ramble that was. 25 minutes of pure mush. Let me know what you think about the semi-final one first rehearsals. I will tell you my top 5, which you'll be able to see on the Instagram post within the next couple of hours or so, certainly before the end of today, all being well. My favourite was Croatia, followed by Ukraine, then Portugal, then Slovenia, then Ireland. But I liked pretty much everything. I mean, if I briefly go through them again, Cyprus I just think needs to be warmer. Serbia, I'm holding off until we see some of the camera angles. Lithuania, looking fine. Ireland, I'm intrigued. Ukraine, great. Poland, could be really messy. Croatia, great. Iceland, a massive improvement from the national final. Slovenia, pretty good. Finland, all over the damn place. All over the damn place. And I have to say, going back to the outfit thing, remember Ronella for Albania a few years ago? I think that was more to do with the choreography. But she had to change her outfit because it was too revealing. And yet here we have a man with his bare butt on stage, and that's completely fine. I don't know. I mean, if they're kicking up a fuss about this, Raven for Slovenia, are people complaining about that? Chanel for Spain a few years ago, flashing her butt as well. Anyway, it is what it is. Moldova, okay, but I think she's swallowed up by the stage a little bit. Azerbaijan, I've got to say, sounded good, looks a bit forgettable. Australia, very nice. Portugal, wonderful. Luxembourg, like with Serbia, I'm on the fence so far. That's it. I'll be back with a very similar video very soon regarding the first rehearsals of the semi-final 2 participants. And before you know it, Eurovision will be here. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, hopefully the lag wasn't too bad, and I'll see you again soon. Take care and bye for now.